still going to be an issue. So that's a big part of the problem here, is just that the site's just not adequate for the intensity. Does that make sense? If you had a larger lot, if you had more land there, it wouldn't be as restrictive.
The lot itself is more than large enough. The gas station by the Walmart down when you first come off the freeway has the car wash, the convenience store, and the gas station, and there is no room to get through that gas station. If you've been there and there's a gas truck, you're only getting out one direction.
I understand.
So there's, again, when you talk about size, we have a very large lot, and I've showed you the pictures, where you can still drive 2 automobiles through all the way around the same place that's parked. So I'm not
Well, those are the kind of problems
size.
that we have to, that we were charged with looking out for you know, the public interest in the community.
When, you know.
Amy,
And so, I mean, that's...
could you pull up the zoning map, please?
Those are exactly the kind of things that we have to look out for and try to address as a planning commission. That's what we're charged with for community development. So,
Okay.
I mean, I really
It's the
wish...
reason that property would be setting a precedent. And I'm interested to see the zoning map. You know, they're put in place for a reason. I'm not saying I disagree, but I don't know that I agree that it'll eventually be changed to that.
Was the property across the streets, I think it was switched to a zone C3, correct?
Across the Gardner Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's C3.
So it was switched for the purpose of adding on to a gas station?
No.
Or, I mean, a car wash?
You can see the whole area that was zoned to C3 across the street, if they zoom back in. And it's a very large area that would support the intensity of a C3 use.
And see, that's my point. Does this cursor work here? You have a C3 in front of us across the street, you have C3 behind us.
There's no C3 behind you.
Well, behind
Well,
the freeway,
far behind. Not,
it is behind us.
Not directly behind you. If you're talking about the...
It butts up to it, to the property line.
Excuse me, I have a quick question. I'm trying to follow along via the vicinity map this Commissioner Mater. Sorry for the quick interruption. But where is the C3 on the east side of Gardner Road that's being referenced? I've only seen a C3 on the west side of Gardner Road.
On the side where the freeway is, behind the C2 is C3, going up, I think, past Moonlight.
Oh, okay. I just have a smaller picture. So that's just okay. The reference that I have is just specific to Gardner Road and I-35. I don't have anything that goes all the way out to Moonlight towards the next Gardner exit off of I-35.
The C3 zoning that is being referred to is just barely to the east of the limits of the vicinity map you're looking at.
Okay. Thank you for reference. One quick question while I have your guys' attention. It's a little tough over the phone. My apologies for being out of town. I think while the applicant was making the presentation, and again, I apologize for not seeing the materials shown, there was a reference to an adjoining property. I thought I had heard about potential there for use by the applicant. Did I hear that correctly? I thought I heard something about an adjoining property being looked at, or
I think we talked
maybe I
about
just misheard being on the phone.
Are you talking about,
I think you were talking about in reference to someone that spoke against this at one of the previous meetings who was, as I recall it, the owner of an adjoining property.
Correct.
Yeah.
and the other property approved of it? The property that is vacant and has the trees growing over the house is the one that wants to buy the property that we're on, and they don't want to approve it. But they're in living
I
garden.
see a lot of vacant properties without the directly to the south, to the west, to the east.
He owns almost all of that.
He owns a big chunk of that. On the same side of the road as Moonlight and our facility, he owns a lot of that vacant property back there.
Moonlight Road reference. Okay, I keep looking at that Gardner Road reference. Okay, thanks. Sorry for the interjection. I again, my apologies for being over the phone.
Thank you, Adriana.
Here's, like I said, looking at the map, you're saying which between a C2 and C3. I mean, I'd almost have to get a, what do you call it, rite of passage to get somebody to drive way up the dirt road to go to a car lot.
Yeah, well, I think that's why that's vacant still, because the
Yeah.
development cost to put anything in there would be pretty high at this point. It's zoned that way for some future development, and there's really not even a detailed thought
Yeah.
on what all of that might be. Obviously, access would go through some kind of a frontage road or some kind of, but that's all future development. And it's not something that we can even really,
And that's the problem. We're looking at
Look at
future development
hypothetically.
instead of looking at the future for the businesses that we have now. We're looking for future development of these large box stores to come in here as opposed to the little guys that go to school with your kids, do pick up, laundry. They do everything they have to do to make it in this community. They help other people. We've got all that just waiting, like Mr. Hall said. We don't want to make sure Lowe's doesn't come in and see a car lot, or a restaurant that's not up to their standards, or a hotel that's not up to their standards. We want to make sure that we have a Black Angus or a nice restaurant on Gardner Road instead of the little guys that are trying to make it. Is Gardner going to turn into Kansas City? Do the people that want a small town, should we move to the next town down? We have a rail yard out there now that we don't get no part of, but still, who's supporting your community? The little guys. I highly doubt if Walmart pays you guys anything for taxes here. But yet, every dime I get, 10% is taken away from me. So, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
well, I would like to, if I can respond to some of that, Mr. Chair. I agree completely with your point of view as far as the small business person. It's been long, my opinion, it's been a long time that I felt that property is developed too big. It takes too much for a little guy to get into business. It's very difficult. There are very few small lots or properties where a small business person can get into business. They're going to be pretty much at the way our society is today. They're probably going to be leasing from somebody because it's a bigger lot that got developed, and it's just the way that is. And I can't really tell you. If you look at the older stuff downtown, small little building spots that you can still, a small person can still afford to buy and get into business. Outside of that, you're looking at larger developments, and that's just the way things are now. That's just my personal feelings. I have to agree with you completely. The small business person is the backbone, and I would like to see you stay in Gardner. I would like to see your business here, personally. Unfortunately, I can't support rezoning your property to a C3. But like I said, I fully support a special use permit and would like to be able to do that, but to do that I have to dismiss with the C3 application because we can't do the two things at the same time. So, since it's my belief that even if I sent it forward with a recommendation for approval, which I honestly in good conscience can't do, but I'm convinced that even if I did, I don't think the chances are that great that it would go past that. So I think to help you and expedite this, I'll be voting to send this forward with a recommendation for denial on the rezoning. But I hope you'll come back with the special use permit so that we can let you continue your operation for at least 2 years, and hopefully, I mean, I personally, I won't be here, but I assume I mean, I would like to see it go for